Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chester Baptist Church Bible Study. I'm Alex Ware. I hope you're having a great weekend and staying safe. We are going to be starting a new study for this quarter, the last study for this quarter, and we're going to be studying about the righteousness by faith, having righteousness by faith. And we're going to be doing this by looking at Isaiah today. We're going to look at Isaiah 40 to be specific, verses 12 and 13, and then 25 through 31. We're looking at these to kind of show how Isaiah showed faith, righteousness through his faith, and try to guide others as well. Additionally, we're going to be studying our key value is going to be about commitment. And we're going to see how Isaiah showed commitment throughout his entire life and how he challenged others to also show that commitment. Today's lesson is called Faith in the Power of God. And we're going to look at what Isaiah said in chapter 40 there, specifically about having faith in the power of God. And finally, I'm going to try to make something a little more personal out of it and show us kind of pull out what we can learn for us today and how we can use it. So there's a lot of stuff to unpack today, and I'm going to try to be as quick and succinct as possible. So to begin with, having righteousness in faith, the righteousness to live by faith anyway, I should say. Isaiah is by biblical scholars divided into two different parts. The first part is more of a judgmental part, where Isaiah is speaking prophecies of the time and the era for which he was alive, much more succinct to them, but still long-reaching. He occasionally mentioned Jesus or the coming of the Messiah. And the second part is much more of what we call a predictive prophecies, which is he's predicting the future, if you will, based upon God's telling him. And this is almost all exclusive of speaking of Jesus and the coming Messiah and the kingdom that he is going to bring. And it is focused more on the deliverance from the evils of the land and becoming Christian, basically, is what he's starting to discuss. So that's kind of where the living by faith, the righteous live by faith, this is what we're looking at. Now, continuing on with commitment, Isaiah spent 50 years doing the Lord's work. 50 years is a career plus. He was alive from around 740 BC to 680 BC. And during that time, he preached and spread the gospel of God before there was a church, or before there was the coming of Jesus. So it was a very hard time for him to do this. 700 years before Jesus was even going to be here. So he was talking about this and preaching about it. He did it a lot. He did it more than any other prophet there is. And this is why Isaiah was such a profound figure into the Bible later on. To show where Isaiah was such a profound influence on the people of the era, his prophecies of Jesus were spoken in chapter 7, 9, 11, 26, 29, 40, 50, 52, and 53, respectively. And they're all talking about the life and the coming of Jesus. Even the John the Baptist is mentioned in there, and the seed of David, and how it's going to be born a virgin, and the trials and tribulations and everything. Isaiah is speaking to all of these things. He mentions it all the time. He was committed to spreading this gospel, spreading this prophecy so that others could say, okay, as history continues on, this prophecy is proven. Which leads to the next step I wanted to make, speaking to the faith in the power of God. He had faith that God's power would show through. And he did this in the reading that we had from the verses by first beginning to ask rhetorical questions. He's asking, well, who numbered the sands on the beaches? Who made the stars? Who held the water in his hands? He's asking these questions rhetorically, going, of course, there's only one being, one almighty God that could do all of these things. And he did this, and he will continue to do this. And this is where his sermon comes towards the more immediate idea of these people who are suffering. And he goes, yes, you're suffering, but it is your own fault. It is you did this to yourself. You are not following God's will. You are not following what you were supposed to be doing. And if you decide to take responsibility and change your ways and then turn to God, God is forever strong. God can support you. This is where we get the idea that we will be young when we get to heaven. As the youth, we will have eternal energy, that God's power is eternal that way. Youth still get tired, but God never does. When we get to heaven, we're going to have the energy of when we were young. As the older we get, the more we lose in the vitality of what we used to have. And we realize that, but we're still thrilled to be here because we know who God is. And this is where I'm going to move into today's specific idea of how we can take the verses that we've read and apply them to our life today. And in this case, we're going to look at one of the words, and I'm going to read from the, it's verse 31. So Isaiah 40:31. And I'm going to, just the beginning of it says, in the New International Version, it says, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. Hope in the Lord. In the King James Version, it says, but those that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Hope and wait. Why are there two words? The original word, and I'm going to say this with a southern tongue, so take what you can from it. Quava. We're going to go with quava, I think. Qavah. Good luck. This word was the word that was used. And translation languages is very difficult. So just to let you know what a better translation, as we've studied and learned more, is to say, instead of to hope or to wait, is to bind together, look for eagerly, or to expect. So those who expect the Lord, who look for the Lord eagerly, they will be renewed in strength. That's what Isaiah is saying to us. So as our bodies break down, as we get older, as we get into more and more hardships of life and what we have, remember this. Be renewed in the Spirit through God. Be excited about life just to be in the moment and have the joy of spreading God's gospel. We can't do it for everyone. We can't make the world and the nation be a better place. We can lead by example, and we can lead with a joyful heart. That's what Isaiah is telling us to do, I think. You can absolutely tell me what you think if you see me again. Until then, let's go to the Lord in prayer and thank Him for the joys that He's. God and Jesus, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this life that you've given us and provided us with such abundant happiness. Please help us to renew our faith with you every day, to think on the things that you have provided for us and to enjoy them and dwell upon them and appreciate them. Be with us in things that we do. Help us to make wise choices that would show our commitment to you. Help us to be a beacon of your love and your joy in the world that we live in.